Okay, that's much better. Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad George could join us. And what do we have the pleasure? What's your name?
I'm Abigail.
And
that's Charlotte.
Charlotte.
That's Charlotte.
And these two are now,
Friends. They're George.
so you have to go to the same sessions together?
Go over there, George. Go get her.
Yeah, go get her, George.
Go get her.
It's going to be a long race.
He wants to, I can tell. His legs are like, yeah, there's Charlotte.
You never know.
All right, good morning, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Julie Bond Genovese. I'm an artist, an author, a speaker, and isn't that funny? I always leave mom to the last. That's really, and mom's the most important one to me. But professionally, people want to hear like what you do.
Your CD.
And really, what I'm doing most in the world is with my family. So that's so funny. I've even tried to practice saying I'm a mom first, and it still doesn't come out. Oh, especially here, where this is what we're doing, the work of parenting. But today, I wanted to talk about aligning with the soul, unschooling ourselves from the belief systems, the BS I call it, that keep us down, that keep us in our old conditioning, what our parents taught us, what our culture continually is shoving down our throat, what media teaches us. And some of it's good, and the way we can tell is if it feels peaceful, it feels good. But we all know what it feels like to be agitated, to be angry, to try and control our kids. And those are flags for BS. It's the belief system that we grew up with but doesn't jive with our soul. And we know it doesn't because we're like, if we were aligned like this, which I'm not, but if we were, when we are in our irritated, sad, scared state, we're like, our soul is over here and our body's over here going, ah, and our mind is going, ah, and our soul is like, oh. And we need to, line up, get back in sync. So how do we do that? Do you guys have things you do on a daily basis that get you back into the groove of being at peace with your kids, being accepting, non-judgmental? Like for me, music. What are some things you guys do?
Exercise.
You gals. Exercise. Oh my gosh, yeah. You can walk out of a bad mood. I've done that so many times. What do you do?
I run.
Run. I run away. Anybody else?
We have a pond, so I'll go and watch the fish, or I'll go and take care of animals, or...
Do you get a heron?
We have had a heron come for our koi, some of our big...
Oh, and so you don't like the heron. I like the heron at my pond.
No.
Okay, anti-heron. Heron is not
Well,
alignment for you.
I love all animals, but not when they're eating.
No, you're koi. Yeah, you're $50 fish. Yeah, being out in nature. Who here, when you go outside, helps you align? Is it almost everybody? Yeah. I think naturally Mother Nature is vibing with, like a goose doesn't try to be anything but a goose. A duck is duck. A heron is going to eat your fish. And they are in alignment with their higher self, their purpose, I don't know if they have a soul. I think animals do, but I think that the jury's out on that one. But when we're outside with the trees, the breeze, the feeling, it's much more easy to feel our own goodness, to remember ourselves underneath all the BS. My son, it's many years ago now, he was 9 or 10. He's 16 now. And we're driving in the car, and something about that hum of the car. We have some great conversations when we have, a long way to go to meet with our unschool friends. And it's quiet in the car, and it feels really meditative and peaceful. And all of a sudden he says, Mom, if I was in spirit before I was born, and I'm going back there when I die, why don't I remember? And I was like, like, wow, good question. That's been tried, people across history have tried to tackle that question. I said, this is my take on it. I think that if we knew we were actually consciousness, spirit, light, bliss, and that we couldn't be hurt, so there's nothing to fear, it would not be the immense challenge that it is. And we came here for a challenge. We didn't come here to hang out on a beach with margaritas. That's nice sometimes, but most people would get bored doing that for their whole life. Good morning, come on in. Here, oh, there's some chairs over here. Hang out with Charlotte. And so I'm telling him this, and I'm kind of checking in the rearview mirror to see if he's buying any of it. And he's not saying anything. He's just continuing to stare out the window. And then he suddenly says, Terry, you're going to appreciate it. He says, yeah, it's like my video games. He says the first time through is really hard. And I have to go do the same thing over and over. And I can't figure it out, and I don't know where the health is, and I don't know where the monsters are. And it is so hard. And he says, the second time through, I remember some stuff. I know where I can get health, so if I'm killed, again, it's not so much of a problem. The third time through, like, boom, I just shoot right through. And I sort of can tell where he's going with it, but I say, so which time through is your favorite? And he's like, without a hitch, oh, the first. So it's the hardest, but it's the most fun. And I was like, oh, he's 10. I said, yeah, I think that's it. And even if that's not it, that's a great empowering way to look at all our challenges. Like, well, did I come here to be lazy and hang out and do nothing? Sometimes, but where I really learn, where we really learn is when we're pushed to our limit, or when we're challenged, or when we're learning something new, and that's what sort of starts to push the BS out of the way. We have to check, is it really true? Are we really limited by what our kids are doing, or are we really limited by what our spouse is doing? Am I limited by this body? It all started because I hated being a dwarf. I hated it. I was just miserable as a kid. Well, I wasn't all the time. I had my joy, my life, but I started to forget. So I was so focused on this mess. People didn't like it. They didn't like me. They were humiliating. And somewhere along the way, I think I was in my 20s, I was desperate enough that life sort of brought me to, under a series of circumstances, a metaphysical bookstore. And, I was looking for cooking equipment because I was starting to cook vegetarian. And there were all these books about empowerment and enlightenment, and I started reading them, and they all kind of said a similar theme, that our joy in this life, our satisfaction, is not going to be built on our circumstances, or our health, or our body, or our spouse, or anything outside. It's going to be an inside job. And I thought, but if that's true, why all this BS that I'm carrying? Why all this baggage? Why was I such a sponge to what everyone else said about me? Why did I believe them? And when I believed someone else who yelled names at me, called me ugly or midget, or there were so many. When I believed them, it hurt. And it hurt not because it was true, but because it wasn't. That is not the way my soul sees me. My soul's like, whoa, you're great. Your soul's like, I love you. You're so awesome. No matter what you've done, it is your, number one cheerleader. And when we listen to someone else, whether it's our parents, our friends, a stranger, and they say something and we go, oh, you're like, oh, wait, that's not true. That's why it hurts. That's our Mayday sign. I think this touchy-feely method was set up before we came into incarnation, was like, I'm going to signal you when you're off track, and it's going to hurt. Because how else would we know? We're going in the direction away from our dreams, which is to love ourselves, to have compassion for our kids and our spouse and our choices. It's not to be about everything that happens. And I thought someone had a question. And anybody who wants to comment, please just jump in. I get going, but I'm happy to have your comments. So this was early on in my late 20s. I started reading these books, and one of the most mind-blowing concepts to me was that before we're born, we're given the opportunity to choose our greatest challenges. Does anybody else think about that? Did we have the opportunity beforehand to say, yeah, I'll take this on? Can you imagine? No. No, not that. So to me, when I read that, and you would have thought, I would have said, oh, come on. I would not choose this. No one would choose to, live in a war-torn area or be abused. No one would choose that stuff. So what are you talking about? But instead, something in my higher self, not my little self that's scared and nervous and insecure, but something else was saying, maybe this would help you view your challenges in a more empowering way. So I thought, this is really weird, and everybody's going to think I'm weird if I talk about it. So I tested with one friend who is fairly open-minded, and we've known each other a long time, and I thought, I have all these weird ideas now that I've been reading these books, and I'm already weird on the outside, so do I really want to be weird and outside the status quo with what I'm saying as well, the way I'm living? Not so much. But still that voice, that still inner voice, people call it a lot of different things. Soul, spirit, joy, I don't know what it is. God, source, was saying, play with this, look at this. See the change it's going to make for you in the way you look at your challenges, in the way you look at the BS. Can you laugh at it? Can you love it? Or do you pretend it's not there? I was someone who pretended I was okay. Nobody knew I was suffering. Even my family, they kind of knew, but I faked it so well. A doctor once said to my parents, and I saw a lot of doctors as a kid, she seems very well adjusted. And I loved that. That's what I'm going for. Well-adjusted. Looking well-adjusted. I didn't know what to feel well-adjusted was, but I was going to look the part. So I learned. I watched people. What does a well-adjusted, confident person look like? And I tried to emulate that. But I didn't know it had to be on the inside. So my friend and I are sitting out on the porch this one day, and I decided I'm going to talk to her about this idea. What if we chose our toughest circumstances, or even one of them? And she looks at me and she's like, well, I did not pick my parents. And I was like, yeah, you gotta go. I wouldn't have picked them either. But we started batting it around because it's kind of an interesting idea. And she said, hey, I think it's called the Spirit Pub. She's Irish, so she's like, yeah, you go to the Spirit Pub, you belly up to the bar, you pick some good stuff, you pick some tough stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I think when I got to the Spirit Pub, I looked up at these, infinite menu of combinations and countries and
I'm
genders.
sorry, and you're totally drunk when you're
Oh yeah, I've had way too many. But
yeah, give me that one.
Yeah. We're drunk on bliss because there's no challenge in spirit. There's no darkness. So Neil Donald Walsh, spoke a lot about this. The light just wants to know, what is that? What is darkness? What is death? What's forgiveness? I don't know anything about that. Maybe I could give it a shot. I'm coming back here. I'll be fine. I'm eternal. And the bigger challenge was, you're going to take that amnesia pill. You're not going to remember. So my friend and I are talking, and I think, well, what if I did? I saw in lights, the special of the day, spondyloepiphyseal dysplasia, dwarfism. And I was like, yeah. I think I could really sink my teeth into that.
And it's on special.
And it is. And it came with a side order of degenerative arthritis and surgeries and all sorts of fun stuff. Which, by the way, has taught me the greatest lessons, so maybe my choice wasn't so bad. So I'm looking at the menu, and I say to my guardian angel, because we all have to have one because it's going to be crazy down here, and I say, so, like, what do you think? And she's like, excellent choice. I said, well, tell me more about it. She said, well, when you're born, the doctors, the white coats, they're the gods of medicine on earth, will immediately label you defective, deformed, abnormal, and you're going to believe them for many years. And there will be quite a number of surgeries and medical studies, including 2 brain surgeries. And I was like, okay, I need to recheck the menu. And she was like, wait, you didn't hear the best part. Because this physical pain will become the catalyst for you to learn about nutrition and alternative medicine, and the world really needs that right now, and to learn about that you're not your body. I was like, oh, okay, tell me more. She said, well, the doctors won't be the only ones who judge. There will be strangers and bullies and children and adults and all kinds of questions and insults, and you'll believe that. I was like, oh. She said, but wait, because this isolation, this rejection will become the springboard, the catalyst to true connection, to the deepest hunger for oneness. And the world really needs that. I was like, oh, okay, I'm starting to see a pattern. And she said, your family will be the loving bedrock of your life. And I was like, yes. And she said, but they will be silent about your challenges. Out of respect, because they'll love you and accept you like all your other siblings, like anyone else. They'll see the truth of you, the spirit of you. But you will interpret that silence as shame, as rejection. I said, ugh. So, what's the springboard? She said, that will be a catalyst to true communication. That silence will develop in you such a hunger to really know others' hearts beyond their physical selves. Because we get very caught up with looking at our physical appearance and apparatus. So this is just the vehicle. This isn't the final verdict. This isn't who I am. But it's teaching me a lot, because here we are in a world of image, of where we think this is it. So I said, so all right, I'm beginning to see. Maybe I can do it. And she said one last thing. This is really important, maybe the most important and the most difficult. Lay it on me. She said, you're going to forget all this. I was like, well, yeah, that part I get. I know. If I knew I was light and indestructible, then what challenge would it be here? And how would we learn that we're all just fractured parts of ourselves, unless we all split up into incredibly unique, singular beings, but we're actually one? It's this crazy paradox. And the only way you can get a first class, front row seat is to go try it out. Go do it. And so I was like, I'm in! And I think we all said, whether we chose the toughest thing in our lives or not, we all said yes. to our life. I mean, we have to say yes every day just to keep going. But we said yes to the challenges, and the best part about grabbing that idea is that it allows us to feel inspired to figure out, well, why? What good will come of this challenge I'm going through with my children, with my spouse, with my job, with my body? We've got to find silver linings. Because if we don't, what happens? Dragging our ass everywhere, it's no fun. But if I'm out looking, like, there's got to be something good in this. There's got to be. Because my soul could turn any ugliness into something beautiful, don't you think? If we have an all-powerful part of ourselves, no matter how small it is, I think it's bigger than our body, but no matter how small it is, it's looking for the best in our situation. And when it's looking, it can find it. There's actually a part of our brain called the RAS. Have you heard of it? The reticular activating system. That when we lock on to what we want, what we believe, so it can be negative BS or it can be positive, when we lock on, that RAS edits out things that don't agree. Like, have you ever gotten a new car, a new model or whatever, and we recently got a new car. It's an old car, but it's new to us, and it's like a PT Cruiser. It's kind of a unique body, and I've never seen it before. After I got it, now I see it everywhere. That's my RAS. It's like, she likes this car, we're now going to point it out everywhere she goes. But it works in the contrary. When I was young, when I looked to see, am I a defect? Am I deformed? I got that back. Now I look out and go, like, am I one with you? Do I love you? And I get that back. Because that's where I set my goal. Now, some days I don't. And like on those days, you'll get that cashier who, you don't want to be. Do you know what I mean? If we set off in our day with an intention of, I'm going to find the best in today, I'm going to find the best in myself, I'm going to see the best in my kids, even when they're screaming on the floor. I love them, they're healthy. And when we do that, it makes a miraculous difference in the way we live our life. Now, something might come along and like knock us down, and then we got to recenter and do it again. But that's part of the game. That's part of the treasure hunt here, finding what is the jewel inside of us? Where is the divinity? And if we let all the challenges cloud that, we're doing it. I did it because I listened to what other people said about me. Hi, Charlie. Aww. She just gave me a blink, like a love blink. Hi, honey. See, we all started like that. Yeah, I know. You probably give your mom a run for the money, but...
She's a delight.
Oh. So I wanted to, let's do a grounding meditation, because I think this is so helpful as a parent. When our BS starts to be triggered by what our kids are doing, our feelings about who our kid is, or why can't they do it this way, or my spouse always does this, grounding ourselves is a way to reconnect with our power and to reconnect with our higher self as well. So everybody want to, if you want to put stuff on the floor so that you don't feel like it's going to fall off. You maybe won't be able to close your eyes. And the reason, I know we don't always have a chance during the day to close our eyes and center ourselves, but even if you can't, even if you're washing the dishes or whatever it is, if you're just saying the words, I am grounding, I am centered, the process starts. This is for meditation teachers who have done this forever, people who can see energetically how the energy starts to align when we simply close our eyes or just say the words. I'm at peace, I am grounding, doing whatever you're doing. But closing our eyes actually slows the brain waves scientifically, so it's nice if you can take a minute in the bathroom or whatever, if you're having a problem or facing a challenge, to just close your eyes for 1 minute is going to make a big difference. So we're going to close our eyes for maybe 5 minutes. So everybody take a nice deep breath and close your eyes. And you can move your head around a little or straighten your spine, move your shoulders just to feel. You can release some tension. I'm doing. And then take another deep, deep, deep breath into your belly. Not just your chest, but your deep belly, the diaphragm. And let it out with a sigh. And take another deep breath in. And let it go. And now I want you to picture or draw your energy. If you don't see things visually, you could just imagine your energy going to the bottoms of your feet and to the bottom of your spine where it's hitting the chair. And those three areas are three chakras, three energy centers. They've known this for thousands of years with acupressure, acupuncture. So those energy places, the bottom of your feet, the bottom of your root of your spine, see them opening like a sunflower or like a rose or a camera aperture, anything, just imagine opening. So they've shown through biofeedback, through all sorts of scientific methods, this actually opens our energy centers. Just the thought of a sunflower opening. And then picture roots. Just going down from your feet, down, down, down into the earth. Or light or a color. You don't have to see the picture to just think it and feel it. But if you can imagine roots going down and they're deeper, deeper through all the layers of the earth until they hit that molten core. Just wrap your roots around that core. And then watch the energy, the light and power come up, back up through the roots, up, 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 through the earth, up the path that it came down. And it's coming up into the bottoms of your feet and the bottom of your spine. Just imagine the light coming up your legs. Or a color, whatever feels good. And imagine it coming up your thighs, up, filling your pelvis, up your torso, filling your chest and your arms, filling your head. And just imagine you are like a light bulb. You're like a lightsaber, a lightning rod. And see your energy sort of growing out, going out farther from your skin and surrounding you like an egg of light. This is actually the truth of our electromagnetic energy. It's around our body, out about, it can go out about 10 feet, and that's what they can measure, but it's probably more. When we're afraid, it's out, it's very close to our skin. When we're feeling calm and peaceful, it's out around us, protecting us. It's touching the people in this circle. It can touch our children and help them calm down. It can touch our spouses and help them calm down. Just feel that oval of light, that circle of light around you. And now I want you to think of an issue you're dealing with lately. Or maybe it's an old BS issue that's been around a long time. Just bring that into your mind. Is it another person? Is it you? Is it health? Is it finances? And see that issue outside yourself. Just look at it as an energy. Is it bright and beautiful, or is it dark? Is it cramped? Is it fearful? And I just want you to ask your higher self, your soul, whatever word feels good to you, your spirit, your joy, your God, your source. Ask for help with that issue. are so independent-minded, we forget to ask our higher self. All our invisible friends, people who have died before us, our guides, angels, ask for help. And this week, start looking for signs that this help is being worked on, that you have allies that you don't even know about. You don't have to do it alone. And just imagine now, if one day you woke up and this was resolved. You don't know how. Maybe you didn't even do anything. It's resolved. What would that feel like? Just take a deep breath in, and like as if, the relief. Maybe it's not all up to you. Just take another deep breath in. And bring your energy to your heart center, the center of your chest. Maybe you can put your hands on your heart and send yourself love. Send yourself some compassion. This parenting thing is difficult. It's a challenge, but we're learning a lot. But what our kids need most is our love. And we can't give them what we don't give to ourselves. Just send love to yourself, however that looks to you. And take another deep breath in. And let it out. And one more. And let it go. And then open your eyes when you're ready. How'd that feel? Were you able to feel centered here, or is there just too much going on? All right, I'm going to pass out. That way they're two sheets, so it's stapled together.
But then he's able to play the video game and then later use that.
Pulled in a metaphor that way.
Yeah, but don't let him do that because it'll turn into some violent. All those things that they say.
Does everybody have one? We're gonna go around the circle and read these quotes. So I find when I'm out of alignment with my best self or the self I admire, not the one I go, oh my gosh, what did you just say? It helps when I read other people's words or I write down myself what is bothering me. Just get it out. So I really appreciate quotes. Amy, you want to start with the first one?
Sure.
We'll just go all the way around and read.
What will our children do in the morning if they do not see us fly?
Walking barefoot through the mud will knock the rust right off your soul. I learned that from a 3-year-old, Eric Church.
Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. Howard Bergen.
We are so full of holes, we become holy.
Guide, then step aside.
Be proud of your scars. They have everything to do with your strength and what you've endured. They're a treasure map to the deep self.
100 things go well for us every day. You are a stillness beneath the noise. You are the love and joy beneath the pain.
Kindness to children, love for children, goodness to children, these are investments that never fail.
When a child is born and when a seed is planted, the flowering process has begun. A flower will not bloom faster by watering it more often or exposing it to additional sunlight. Neither can a child's development be rushed. Patience is essential as we tend to the fate of the soul.
Disobedience is not an issue if obedience is not the goal.
What you're believing in the moment creates your suffering or your happiness.
Only when we know our own darkness can we present with the darkness of others. Compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity.
Brandon, you want to take one?
Someone I loved once gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand it was too big.
They tried to bury us, but they didn't know that we were seeds. That's great.
We may have come in different shapes, but we're in the same boat now.
In support of birthing the new you, give yourself permission to let go of your deeply held ideas about spiritual growth and to step more fully into the expansiveness of your soul. It's what we have learned that is holding us back. It is time to transcend the mind and embrace the heart. Only then can we experience our essential selves. Only then can we know the invulnerability of the soul.
Gorgeous, amazing things come into our lives when we are paying attention. Mangoes, grandnieces, Bach, palms, let it be unto us, so much is given. We just have to be open for business.
Living life, so is living your house while it's over your head.
I want to wake up feeling that the world couldn't make it without me.
It's not what you do for your children, but what you have taught them to do for themselves that will make them successful human beings.
The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents.
Do you want to take one? Now I can't remember your name. Charlotte.
Abigail, yeah.
Abigail.
If you are mentally somewhere else, you miss life.
Yeah, I went.
Did you go? Yeah. I don't know a perfect person. I only know flawed people who are still worth loving.
Live life as if everything is rigged in your favor.
In order to love who you are, you cannot hate the experiences that shaped you.
All any feeling wants is to be welcomed with tenderness. It wants to relax and tell its story.
Have you learned lessons only from those who admired you and were tender with you and stood aside from you? Have you not learned lessons, great lessons, from those who braced themselves against you and disputed passage with you?
The hurrier I go, the behinder I get.
Love is the ability and willingness to allow those that you care for to be what they choose for themselves without any insistence that they satisfy you.
Let go of your mind. For peace of mind, resign as general manager of the universe.
What your heart thinks is great, great. The soul's emphasis is always right.
School is the advertising agency which makes you believe that you need a society that exists.
You're here
still come.
The best education is never confined to a classroom.
Not ask your children to strive for extraordinary lives. Such striving may seem admirable, but it is the way of humans. Help them instead to find the wonder and the marvel of an ordinary life. Show them the joy of tasting tomatoes, apples, and pears. Show them how to cry when pets and people die. Show them the infinite pleasure in the touch of a hand, and make the ordinary come alive for them. The extraordinary will take care of itself.
Do what you want. That's not selfish. What's selfish is expecting other people to do what you want.
No problem can be solved on the same level of consciousness and created.
Good things are coming down the road. Just don't stop walking.
Just be yourself. Let people see the real, imperfect, flawed, quirky, weird, beautiful, and magical person that you are.
If you just look at all that already exists in your life, all that you already have, unlimited air to breathe, ample lighting to see, music to hear, books to read, stars to dream by, trees to gaze at, floors to dance on, friends to report with, enemies to befriend, strangers to meet, woods to walk through, rocks to scale, greens to see, rivers to flow through. You do have to admit there's more of it than you could ever imagine. But try it.
The best way to get rid of your enemy is by increasing their capacity of happiness and love.
There is nothing more truly artistic than to love people.
In a gentle way, you can shake the world.
After a long life and 30 years in the public school trenches, I've concluded that genius is as common as dirt. We suppress genius because we haven't yet figured out how to manage a population of educated men and women. The solution, I think, is simple and glorious. Let them manage themselves. Taylor Gabbard.
You've seen my descent, now watch my rising.
One day we'll wake up and discover we are family.
We're all just walking each other home.
So which ones resonated with you? Does anybody want to share one that particularly...
I just want to point out that I don't know how many people are in this room right now, but every time it came to me, I was on Rumi. So I need to obviously find more of what Rumi wrote and read more of it, because obviously something is skipping me.
Cool that you noticed that.
Every time.
I love the quote that says they tried to bury us, but they didn't know that we were seeds. I just thought that was amazing.
Amazing. Yeah, and it's even they can be interpreted as, the challenges we face.
Yeah.
It's not like we are victims and other people are actually trying to put us down. They're just trying to work it out like all of us.
Yeah.
So when I first read that, I loved it. And then I went, oh, but it sounds sort of like we're victims, and I don't think we are. Then I realized, no, they can be anything that we look at as having more power than we do. And then it becomes fertilizer for the BS too, so we can it was like your metaphor about the dirt. The growth, the soil's got to be loose and fertilized so that we can actually go, okay, I can do it.
They can be also ourselves.
Pardon?
They can be also ourselves.
Totally.
We bury ourselves.
We totally. And we say it's somebody else. Because, for me, it was, well, they called me names. The doctors did this and this to me. But it was my response to it that stayed as BS and baggage that I carried for so long. So
For me, it was the greatest burden a child must bear, the unlived life of the parents. I deal with that a lot with my own parents. They have a lot of fear about the way that I'm choosing to live my life.
Really?
And it causes a lot of conflict.
Are they loving that you're going, though, for you're a doctor? I mean, that's isn't that the pinnacle for parents?
You would think so, but it's all the other parts of my life that, things that don't meet the
status quo?
The status quo.
Yeah, darn it all. You did the doctor thing, but you're not doing the other stuff.
Well, that's the thing, and that's why it's always been a struggle for me. It's look at all the things So they're here, like, spreading out, not going by like the way that I was raised, doing things like sailing and hiking, things that they consider like dangerous.
Oh, you're stressing them out because they're afraid.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because they're afraid of things.
And they
that
can't
were-
control their own BS, and you really can't either.
Exactly.
So it's out of your hands.
You can choose not to let it, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the most powerful piece is saying, you know what, I always say, play parent or in-law bingo. Expect them to say that, like, whenever you interact with them, say, okay, you said that one. All right, when's the next one coming? So looking forward to the bad stuff, right? And then when you get 5 or something, just say bingo in your head, and you're like, and it completely changes the
Oh my God,
mindset
Terry,
that you
that's
had.
great. Because don't we all have that going?
With in-laws, and I'm like, dude, just go and play bingo. And you're like, please say it, you know, come on. And then it, you know, it's to me, it's all about perception, right? If you can change, you can look at one thing, you can look at it negatively or positively, and if you can try and look at it positively, it changes everything.
Yeah.
My husband and I actually made a bingo card for dealing with my in-laws, and Terry's very clear that you keep it all in your head, but I actually one time after my mother-in-law made a statement, I went, bingo! And my husband just turned bright red. He was like, 'cause my in-laws don't deal with me at all, like they've stopped, and he was like, I'm gonna hear about that later. That night he was like, thank you for that. Like, yeah, well, you know, I won.
Yeah. I like that, you're enthusiastic.
Oh, I was so enthusiastic about it. Yeah, no, it's like Terry said, it's like a big joke now. Like, whatever, she's just gonna say things. I just have to check off my list.
The one that,
Oh, Debbie and then Brandon. Now.
okay. The one that resonated with me, which it's kind of sad that I think about it, but it's really hit me, is you're here to give the love that you never got. And it's not that they didn't love me, but they really was never able to show that.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm showing my children. I think I am, because everybody says you're just, you know, I show a lot of love.
Yeah, and if you think you are, you are.
Yeah, I think I sometimes overshow my feelings to my kids according to other people around me because I want to make sure that they feel loved, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's one of the
Can you overlove somebody else?
Yeah.
Well, no, but in people's like, oh, you're, you know.
Spoiling?
You're
spoiling them with too much love.
Right, exactly, you're spoiling. How come you give them what they want, you know, types of stuff.
So that's part of what I see as that soul contract of saying, so you got crap love, you know.
Yeah.
People didn't know how to tell you because they didn't get it. And then for them, they didn't get it and they didn't get it. And you're breaking the chain.
But I also think it's
And that's a big deal.
Love languages, you know, like sometimes they do say it, but they only say it in one love language.
Exactly.
Their own. And so, because it's not being delivered in the one that is your love language, like maybe gifts or acts of service, you know, trying to figure out what my kids' love languages are always a challenge because, you know, I am not an acts of service person, and I have a son who acts of service is his love language, and sometimes you're just like, do it yourself, you know, and that's his love language is that. So I think, you know, sometimes we feel unloved not because our parents couldn't or didn't want to, it's because their language spoke differently.
Like a lot of dads think love is toughness. You know, they were raised with that. So when I look at my dad and I see he had so much rage, and he was scary, he was a scary father to have around. But when I look at him and I see that rage as terror, like he was terrorized as a kid. He didn't talk about it, so I don't know exactly what happened, but I see it now from that place where when I'm aligned, he's passed now, God bless Dad. But seeing it from a higher perspective in me, I know he was terrorized. And that anger was his way of trying to control his family who he loved fiercely. But he did it in a way that we all went, wow. But now I can see, now I can feel it. It was a different language, but he did love us.
Yeah. And I see my mother lives with us now.
Oh, wow.
And,
aren't you daring?
Again, that's the love. It's like just because she was the way she was, you know, I'm here to take care of her.
That's right,
and I want my kids to see that. But they see how she still is, and they're like, wow, I'm glad you're my mom.
Yeah, way to go, Mom.
So they do see it, so I think at least maybe not.
Yeah, as long as I think we're making momentum, we're making some small changes, it takes a lot. Change is a huge commitment and it's a lifelong process. It's not like I say one day, oh, I'm going to be loving all that. I still got a lot of BS to unravel and old triggers. Brandon?
Yeah, the one that stood out for me is actually the one that I read, one of them, about not asking your children to strive for excellence. Because I have, or for extraordinary life, because in many ways I feel like that has been my life, striving for the extraordinary, and I do live what I feel is a very extraordinary life.
Yeah.
And I feel fulfilled, but I don't think that I feel fulfilled because I live an extraordinary life. It's because of the lesson I've had to learn of how these external things don't provide that kind of fulfillment. It's really being able to appreciate the ordinary.
Yeah. And you're carrying it with you. You know, as you and Jen travel, you carry it with you. You carry that, we're going for something extraordinary. Because someone else could land in Peru and be like, oh. But you guys land and go, yeah. And you put your RAS on, what amazing things are we going to find and share? It's a whole different mindset than, you know, for me, traveling is, I'm a recovering control freak, so traveling is so exciting, the idea of it, but it's really scary. So I think it takes great faith and great courage to like bring the extraordinary with you, but then appreciate the ordinary, because the ordinary is extraordinary.
Yeah, totally. And even coming back from traveling or when we're in, I mean, we like a variety of places, but you know, after being in some spots that are so unique and exciting in many ways, and then coming back to something more ordinary, it's been an interesting practice for us to try to really appreciate little things about every place we're in, how mundane it might seem, and I don't know, it's been one of the challenges of our life.
Yeah.
Teaching that to our kids.
Yeah, I guess we're on the same lines a little bit because I always felt so ordinary.
Aww.
Like, you know, not good enough, right?
Yeah.
There's always that feeling
yeah.
oh my gosh, like, and I still have that.
Yeah.
I really fear failure.
Who has that here? I'm not enough. You're in good company, you know, you're with other humans, they got
But
it.
I always think this is, I have to strive for this extraordinary.
Yeah.
And it's so bad because I see that in my kids, like I'm projecting it onto my kids and I see them as ordinary, I see them as not good enough. It would be so much easier for me if they were geniuses, right? Or talented in something, and it's just kind of, and I'm struggling with that, to see them like they are extraordinary, even though they're ordinary.
Yeah.
And,
What's an example of someone in your vicinity who to you is extraordinary? And is it who they are or is it what they do?
Comparison, right? So
Pardon?
I always compare.
Yeah,
And I always struggle with this.
there's the BS right there.
Right, so comparing myself to other women, then comparing my husband to other husbands, marriage, and now my kids to other kids.
Right, your mind is not going to let you win.
Exactly. And so that's my struggle and also my challenge to say, no,
Yeah.
I am ordinary, beautiful, or amazing.
Yeah.
And so are my kids in their own way. You know, even though they're doing things like be crazy or I don't know, whatever. But I have to get, I just want to do things because I'm passionate about them, but not trying to strive for something, I don't know, to become somebody who I'm not.
Right. There's a balance, there's a fine line. Well, give me an example of this is how your RAS, your brain, your mind is set on this idea that I'm ordinary. And now that's all you can see because that's where you're locked in. So your kids are ordinary. Give me an example of something you've done that you felt was extraordinary. Or something you, for instance, choosing unschooling or even embracing the possibility, pretty freaking extraordinary. You're pretty outside the box with that.
I consider myself very radical actually in every area. Whether it's spiritually, physically, I mean, when I compare myself to other people, right? I say, oh, I'm different, right? Because I'm not going.
That's extraordinary.
You
know, I mean, we are pack animals.
Don't put that down. Don't
Yeah.
Don't say, well, yeah, I'm doing this. and that's awesome, but it's like you're doing that and that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing. I mean, when somebody says to you, "Oh my God, are you insane?" Do you respond with, "Oh, you're right. Like, wow,
This
I
is
shouldn't
nuts."
be doing this. It's nuts." Or do you respond with, "No, I'm so happy and I'm so joyful and I'm going down this road and it's awesome." Because
And I
that's
always have this, a lot of expectations on myself. I have a lot, and I just don't know where it kind of ends, and I think I have those expectations on my kids too. So every time when I see myself in them, I just, I wish, they were
So
not.
if they were never extraordinary, what's your greatest fear? If they were never extraordinary, what's your fear for them?
That they would be afraid
Fear.
to live their fullest kind of potential, like I fear stepping, I guess I'm doing the unschooling thing and whether I'm still very,
Yeah. Well, it's a lot to take
I
in.
fail. So maybe I'll write something and, when my kids succeed, or share those things when they succeed, not now, right? Because what if I fail? I don't want them to be like this. I want them to just, who cares about failure? I mean, I tell them that all the time, but it's like they already feel failure. It's like this epigenetic thing is passed on to them, and they're already feel challenges, and because they get frustrated and tired.
Well, I mean, whose kids don't? So it may be that high expectation.
But I fear that they want because they're afraid to fail.
So one of my biggest lessons on the unschooling path has been that when I focus on an end game or an end goal, success, whatever that may be, I miss all of the wonderful stuff that happens every minute of every day. And I'm not saying, I tend to do that. I'm a pretty high achieving person, right? And what I've had to learn to do is live very slow. And that was a big, big difference for me. Because I was a high-powered sales executive, right? I traveled the world. And I started parenting, and I was like, wow, where are the wins? Right? I mean, there's not a lot of obvious wins. I mean, there are now.
No, that's right.
But you don't,
Where's
no one
the
comes up to
win?
you and says, hey, you got a bonus today. Like, you did great with those diapers.
Exactly.
There's none of that. There's no feedback loop. There's not a great bonus check at the end.
No
stuff
bonus
that
check.
you tend to kind of hang your hat on. But, I have certain things that I always say to myself, and one of them is, if I focus on the end game or success, whatever that is, I miss all of the actual success that's happening. And that comes in when my son, when my husband would like, no, they never take their dishes to the sink. And I'm like, yeah, dude, but Wyatt's moving his dishes to the coffee table. And that's 10 feet closer to the kitchen. And I think that's a win, right? Or they do it once every 3 times. That's a win.
It's a win.
That's a win.
Yeah, because they're
right?
starting.
And he has asked me, he said, you know what, I need you to send me a Facebook message when those wins happen. He said, because I don't want to be Debbie Downer coming home saying, you never, I always say, you never.
Ooh, that's
and my husband's always like,
never.
no, it's sometimes I do, right? You never. Well, actually, I did the last 10 weeks about 100 times, but you can say I never. Sorry.
Yeah, never is an excellent flag for BS. If we are stuck in something when we say always, or never, or even can't, like then that's the moment to breathe and say, what is it I'm believing that isn't true, that isn't in alignment with my soul, that hurts, so that I have to go, you always, or you never. Because when we project onto other people, we're clearly afraid of something in ourselves. And it's tempting to say, it's out there! It's definitely out there! Like, it's out there, my kids are so ordinary! But it's in here.
Right.
And so just acknowledging it is a huge step. And acknowledging when you have chosen something extraordinary, or when they do, or acknowledging the ordinary.
And I think that I had to breathe the life that I wanted to have to accept the one that I have that's better. Right? And I think that comes in expectation. Right? You believe. I mean, everybody wants to have that kid at the unschooling class who's so nice. And you know what I mean? The one that comes up, hello everybody.
Oh, I know.
And I'm unschooling my kids pretty darn well. I doubt I'll ever have, well, besides Emily. my boys will come and meander in and just start chatting, and I'll tell you, adults do not know how to handle that. Like, they don't know how to have kids talk to them as an equal, right? I mean, it's an odd feeling for conventional schools, not for us.
Anybody else had something come up as you were reading that was like a BS source thought?
Yeah, the one about Gandhi line, in a gentle way you can shape the world. So for couple reasons, first off, it's like, yeah, Gandhi, like, easy for you to say. Like, just because you had non-violent protesting doesn't mean you were gentle. You know, that's like pretty, had much intent to change the world. And I run into that a lot. Like, I have some level of like messiah complex to some degree. Like, oh man, like, you should put energy into trying to help people and save the world. And like, I get really caught up in that. Plus, like, I don't have kids. So if you have kids, then you got a responsibility. It's very, like, you should focus on it. But I don't. So to me, it's like, oh man, I should just help everybody and put all my energy into everyone, really. And it's easy to kind of go down this rabbit hole because there's also this kind of very Zen attitude of just be and leave everyone the hell alone. And the world is going to happen the way it's going to happen. And don't stress about trying to help people. Just chill out. But it's, you know, so we saying like in a gentle way, shape the world. So it's like kind of the idea, just be nice to one person.
Yeah.
And then that is, you know, doing enough.
And I think the one person is yourself. Right? Be gentle to yourself. Right? Keep that all to yourself. And then you'll.
And what brought you to the conference?
That I want to find a way to make the things that you all do more accessible to other people that don't have this maybe opportunity. So I thought about, you know, how can it be done? Like, I've got a background as an entrepreneur and a web developer, so it's like, oh, maybe there's a way to build something digital that kind of connects everybody, or, you know, some kind, I don't know if it's like a social network for unschoolers or something like that, but something that makes what you do easier and also makes it so other people can kind of see what this is all about. And it sounds like a lot of parents deal with a lot of judgment and criticism when other people find out what to do. And it seems like it'd be nice if people saw the real thing. It's like in my head, but of course the grand vision is like, let's break these kids out of school. Like, I mean, I legitimately thought about kind of driving like little democratic uprisings in school. It's happened in countries. Like, you could do this as, you know, teenagers. And I even laugh, like, you know, the Martin Luther King quote that's in here. Like, a lot of the civil rights movement was driven by teenagers that got involved. And I'm like, you fought for the rights of, like, African Americans. You could have fought for your own rights as teenagers. And, you know, like the democratic schools that are out there, everyone says, well, this is great. I mean, you can take democracy. But, again, you know, how do you, you know, maybe you just gotta let everybody just be. You know?
Well, I think it's a fine line again. It's not one or the other. It's like you're going to do the work you're going to do, but if you start to push, like I should be doing more, then then you're not aligned. If you're in that place of, well, I also want to chill today or tomorrow or sometime, then you are in alignment. But that's the hard thing about being human. There isn't just this one rule. Do it this way. It's like, well, what's right for me? And here you are here, you know, soaking all this up. And so did you go to a traditional school?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I when I was in high school, I was like a big pain in the ass because I was that kid that
you
was
were
like,
a rebel?
Really? Like, yeah, like, big time. And I was getting thrown out of class all the time. But I got good grades. Partly because I was grounded a lot, so I did all my work, and like my attitude was, how much are you going to punish me when I have an A?
Yeah.
It can't be that bad. And I wanted to, you know, it just seemed like there should be something different. So then they opened up a magnet school. I was like, oh, this will be it. This will be different. And I applied, and I was the only kid from my school that applied. You know? So like I got in. And you know, I did that. I went to college, and it was during my senior year, maybe my junior year, that I started reading my own books, kind of get my own education. And during my senior year, I started learn about entrepreneurship and like, this is about writing your own story, creating your own path, doing your own thing, and that. So that was like 10 years ago. So from that path, I really.
And you bumped into unschooling somewhere along the way?
Yeah, like maybe 4 years ago, I started trying to look at education and what might be done to improve it.
Right.
And, you know, I saw like Khan Academy. I said, okay, people are learning on the internet, but Khan Academy kind of sucks because it's really boring. I said, what if all the kids made the videos?
Yeah.
I was like, well, that would be awesome. So then I started down that path, and I was really learning more about peer-to-peer learning in general. And then I said, well, how do you actually implement something like this? It's like school systems aren't going to adopt a change like that. So I was like, well, what about the people that are already outside the system, like homeschoolers? And then I learned about homeschooling, and I was like, well, regular homeschooling, the way the small, you know, some people do it where they bring school home. I was like, that ain't going to work. So then I was like, all right, found out about unschooling. I was like, yeah, this is the place. Like when people are trying new things and doing what feels normal. And that's how, like, the last 10 years, everything I've learned has been through, like, peer learning and finding out. If I get a question, I find the right person that can answer it, or they refer me to someone. I haven't done formal school for that.
Yeah, but you're internally motivated.
This method that I've been doing the last 10 years.
So do you know Kevin Solon?
I've talked to him, yeah.
Oh, he's the student assistant center. Okay,
Yeah.
so he's in Boston, he's in where I live, and I've met him before, but he's like, seems to me that that's if you wanted to mobilize teams.
Yeah, I just talked to him like a week ago.
Anybody else want to add a quote? Or?
I really love the one that disobedience is not an issue, disobedience is not a issue. And I was actually staying at a friend's house this past weekend in New Haven. He was a friend of my dad's, and I was at his house because my oldest is a fencer, and we had a fencing tournament. We were just using this extra bedroom. His kids are off at college. And he was talking about my daughter, and he was saying, your kids are great, you're really in a good place, because I'm no longer in the infant, diapers, nursing, constantly kind of thing. I'm sort of in the middle. My kids are 4 to 13, so we're in the fun stage, and we're having a lot of fun. And he was saying, yeah, you're in a great place, your kids are awesome, they're still obedient, meaning they haven't gotten to the teenage years yet, which my 13-year-old definitely has. But I kind of looked at him and I said, I've never required obedience out of my children, ever. That's never, you know, that's never been a thing. And he just did not get it.
Yeah, control is a big deal, and I realize when I try and control my kids, it's because I feel out of control. It's never because it's coming from alignment or peace or joy. It's coming from like, you know, I'm afraid for that, or I think I know best. And if I know best, why am I not at peace?
Right.
Why don't I talk with them?
Exactly.
Because I know the difference.
You know, then I find any time that I really do understand what they're trying to do and why my way would be different if I explain to them and talk to them and we have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
Either they'll try it my way or they won't, but either way I'm at peace with it because I know that I've gotten my point through.
Yeah.
And it is what it is.
And obedience, the desire for obedience to me is like, you know, when you force, you get counterforce.
Right.
When you push, you get the pushback.
Yeah.
But when you discuss with an open heart, like, I used to tell my kids when they were little, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're around because you remind me that things are wonderful. Like a fern is amazing. You know, they have those curly ferns. I remember my son just staring at one for like 5 minutes. And so I started to stare at it because there was nothing else to do. And I was like, wow, like that's amazing. But I had to remember to tell him that he was teaching me so that he didn't think I was the teacher because I don't have all the answers and I clearly knew I didn't. I was nervous about parenting. I knew I had my own hang-ups. What am I going to do? And the more I gave him sort of that autonomy of, you're here, you don't have as much life experience, but you have a lot of soul goodies that I have forgotten. And help me remember, help me please.
But they always stare for 20 minutes at the fern when you're like 10 minutes later.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, check out the pattern on this. Really now?
Our families, we don't have a schedule.
Yeah.
I don't put myself in a situation where I have to be somewhere in 10 minutes.
Yes.
Seriously, and when I do, now I've lived so long that way, that man, I hate a schedule. Like, I hate when there's something on the schedule that I have to, besides the gym, because the gym I can easily go to in the morning. But I hate, like, I really don't like schedule. As you know, I ran into that last year with you and Aaron. Like, I don't like living on a schedule, and it really stresses me out, so I won't take it into my house. Like, I just won't.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I always left extra time.
Oh, I leave plenty of extra
Yeah.
time. And we're getting out of that point because sometimes
Yeah,
it's
totally.
like, it's a kid who really wants to do something
Right.
and I have to bring
You
another
have a lot of
along.
age
Like,
spread.
but I'm finally getting out of that. Like, if a middle wants to go somewhere, I can leave the oldest with the youngest now. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's sort of is smoothing out.
Does anybody else struggle with the obedience issue? Yes?
Another idea about, my mother used to be very like, you just obey. She has a spiritual guide who once said to her, that marked her like, don't argue. And it was like, she was then saying that to us, like, it's more like, okay, don't argue. Just like it. And I saw something about you that you said about choosing your life. She discovered also with her spiritual way that we might not. She had this idea that we had chosen this life, but that was a way of her to like say, okay, that's your fault. Like you, I can be like the mother. I'm imperfect, but you just chose this life, and I was like, okay, but just take your responsibility. Just So I
And
didn't
that
like
sounded
this
more
way of-
like guilt and manipulation, not that she was taking her own responsibility. She was like, bah, on you. That's not, that's a different way of looking at. When we look at it for ourselves, I can't throw that on anybody else that they chose their circumstances. I do it because it empowers me. But I would never say to someone else, well, you chose it, so, you know, that's just cruel. So she was using it as a tool.
Well, it was for her not to feel so guilty about her life.
Yes.
But then I also I want to accept that, okay, that's not the perfect childhood, but that's also, there are the good things and the bad things.
Yeah. Yes, there's
Matt Anderson has a talk coming up in 20 minutes, and his line that I've always quoted is, people speak their trauma every day. So people speak their trauma every day. So when you come across someone who's puking on you, right? I have huge empathy. Like, I don't get angry anymore. I'm just like, you know what? You're just speaking. I'm so sorry. Like, I go immediately to, I am so sorry that whatever my presence is doing to you is causing you to react so poorly, right? And I take no personal energy from it. Like, I don't take any of their negativity because I'm like, you know what? We're speaking our trauma, right? We all have trauma. Some days I can probably hand it to some people when I'm angry about something not going on. I do that a lot less these days. But, you know, like, and I love that because if I can say it's not me, it's that, you know, it's that person has to own their own crap, right? They may or may not choose to, but I don't have to take it. Right, I absolve myself.
And if you resonate with it at all, like if someone insults me and I think it's true, I can deal with it in me. I don't have to change that, which is just a huge load off my shoulders that I don't have to be general manager of the universe. I can resign and just try and manage myself, which is a huge job. And if I can do the best with myself, I'm better able to help my kids, but I'm certainly never going to be perfect.
I'm trying to teach my kids that, and I'm being called an enabler by one of my sons.
Ooh,
because
good
I'm
word.
you gotta love it when kids have great because I'm always granting everybody their grace, right? I'm honoring, hey, you know what? I know you're really pissed off about that. I bet that she's pretty pissed off about this. I think that he probably got angry about that. Mom, you're just an enabler. And I'm like, you know, and then I'm like, okay, and I'm willing
You could say,
to accept
I'm
that
enabling
because
peace. I'm enabling
exactly,
compassion.
right, it's an empathy, right? And I'm trying to model that, you know what, hey, we all have our own perceptions of what just happened here.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
sometimes fairness, my kids don't want to hear
No,
fairness.
exactly, right.
They're like, no, I was hurt. And the other one's like, no, it was me.
Yeah.
So if I'm trying to be fair, I'm clearly one of them is not, you know, going to get my, which isn't true. We can be empathetic with both.
Right.
Or all. All right, thank you, everybody. We're past time. I think time to get to your 11:30. Yeah. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for sharing.